We're here with one of my favourite items from the museum's motorcycle collection, the 1923 Indian Scout. This object we acquired in 1985, and Don Parkinson, who restored this bike, is coming in today to see it for the first time since he sold it to the museum.
Hasn't changed.
We don't know a lot about the early history of this motorcycle, but we know it was bought in 1923 from the Adelaide dealers. When Don Parkinson acquired it in the late 1960s, it had been sitting in the back of an old shed up in the Adelaide Hills for some decades.
A friend of mine told me where it was, and he said, these people are friends of mine. They want to get rid of this old motorbike out of the shed. At that time, we didn't know whether it was an Indian, Harley or what it was. It was just an old bike. I said, if you want it, take it. The rust was getting into it bad, but the best point was that I could see everything was on it.
So he didn't have to go hunting for parts or make replica bits. After the Second World War, Indian motorcycles declined in popularity and the company went into liquidation in 1953. So by the time Don acquired this bike for restoration, even if he'd wanted to obtain spare parts, it would have been hard to do so. Ironically, Indian motorcycles achieved some of their biggest fame around the world after the New Zealander Burt Munro took his 1920 Scout motorcycle to North America in the 1950s and 1960s and established a number of land speed records at the Bonneville Salt Flats.
I didn't know too much about it. I knew I'd seen it and I wanted it. I'd put a big family room on the back of my house. You know, they had a pool table for the boys. That got brought up by night time so I could be fiddling with getting things right on the old engine.
Don was a fairly unassuming man of fairly modest means. He'd owned and restored motorcycles for most of his adult life.
I had a motorbike when I was 16. Mum and Dad didn't want motorbikes in them days.
He tended to purchase an old motorbike for restoration and he'd spend the next few years doing it up, and then he'd often have to sell that pride and joy to afford his next project, basically the next bike he wanted to restore.
We negotiated the price. I thought that was good. And there's where it is.
The thing I particularly like about this motorcycle is it's very genuine and very original. Pretty much everything you see on the motorcycle, apart from the hose on the lighting gear and the tyres, everything else is original, genuine parts. It was a real thrill to see Don here at the museum. It's always lovely as a curator to meet people who've owned objects in your collection. It all adds to the picture and the knowledge of this object.